Hello guys, I am going to take you through the readings for this week, and we were focusing on medical writing, so we are looking at evolution of scientific medical research writing. So I am going to start off by looking at the 3 articles and how I am going to talk through them. Firstly, I would like to look at the first reading by Marta, which was a brief history of the evolution of medical research articles, where she talked of the evolution of scientific writing style. And then I'll move on to the second reading by Elizabeth Harper, who was giving us an overview and explaining in detail health communication methodology and race. And she raised some questions that are very important: how race is used in medical disparity research, and then she argues against using racial identity as the basis for health communication messages. So she is proposing a methodology or offering other methodologies that could be used that can offer greater explanation. And then lastly, I will look at the last reading by Angeli and Johnson Shannon, where they gave us an introduction to a special issue about a case study about Elizabeth's father's health. And here they helped to introduce to us a discussion about the intersection of medical humanities, rhetoric of health and medicine, technical communication in healthcare communication, and patient education. So in the first article, we read about the overview of how medical writing came about. And then the authors were giving us a history of medical writing and the evolution of writing style. And it is through the Royal Society of London that played a very significant role in developing scientific research. And they published their first article in the year 1665 in a journal called Philosophical Transactions. And then we see that they were using rhetorical devices such as hedging and making sure that they use active voice in relaying their writing or giving or writing, so that they can. A gentleman by the name Beserman identified 4 stages in the development of experimental reports: sample reports of events, argument over results, discovery accounts, report containing claims, and experimental proofs. And then we see that along the way there was a shift from no longer talking of case studies of diseases-focused articles to adopting impersonal and narrative writing style. And then in the 20th century also, there was a standardization of experimental procedures, which brought about the introduction, method, result analysis, and discussion structure. And also there was increased use of visuals and multiple authorship. And then also we find that it is not all people who are in favor of the emerald structure. There is criticism, some scientists are criticizing it. And then we move on to the second article by Elizabeth Harper, the health communication methodology. In this reading, she raises 3 main points. And she says in the first one that there is need for critical examination of how race is used in the health disparities research, because she has realized that they are problematizing race in researches about epidemiology. So she says this is a problem. And then she also identified that there is also absence of historical perspective in health disparities research. So this is also identified as a major shortcoming. And then finally, she also says that the use of quantitative methodologies in health disparities research has got limitations, because it does not address the root cause of disparities for perpetuating biological thinking. So it does not address the root cause of disparities. They are perpetuating biologistic thinking. So in a way, she has ways that she thinks could be used to not look at race as a problem in human disparities researches. So 2 areas in health communication that she identifies that they normally use in these research articles or research writing is the health campaigns and the crafting of culturally appropriate health messages. There is also the use of racial categories in health communication that perpetuate stereotypes and reinforce perceptions of biological differences. So she's saying that scholars should advocate for a shift towards problem-driven research rather than identity-driven research. And also she proposes that there are rhetorical methodologies that can offer insights into how communication practices constitute racial identities and influence health disparities. And she also mentions that researchers have an ethical obligation to critically evaluate the use of racial categories in their methodologies and consider the potential social and economic impacts. Health communication scholars should also question whether race-based messaging is necessary, and culture is often used as a proxy for race in health communication research. So she is strongly against this, and she's suggesting that let there be ways, the rhetorical methodologies that can be used, there are better ways that can be used that cannot look at race as a problem. And then in the last article, in the last reading by Angela and Johnson Shannon, they give us almost a case study of what a family went through in their journey for Elizabeth's father's disease, where he was diagnosed with a disease and then he was placed on liver transplant. They had to wait for transplant, and post-transplant, what happened after he had the surgery. And then the family encountered challenges in navigating the health system, and then they bring forth here the intersection of these 3 disciplines: the medical humanities, the rhetoric of health and medicine discipline, and the technical communication health communication. And then they are saying that there is need to bridge the gap between the 3 disciplines. And in summary, I would say all these 3 articles helped us to know and understand the history of medical writing, and to understand where this the IMRAD structure comes from. And then the authors call for a broader focus on structural factors influencing health disparities, and there is need to rethink the use of racial categories and focus on identifying problematic behaviors that contribute to health disparities, considering factors such as culture, geography, class, and age. And here are the questions that I would like you to just go through, and then you pick 2. And then thank you guys for listening, and this is me.